All right, we should be good to go. Back in the building. Y'all know what to do. It is that time. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can see me. Welcome. Welcome back to another YouTube live stream. I'm your host, ClassE at patreon.com/ClassEbeats. By the way, the link is in the description for y'all. Also, in the pinned comment in the chat, please make sure you guys go over there and check out our brand new channel, Jury of Your Peers. We're going to be live streaming some court cases over there. So if you haven't checked it out and subscribed, make sure you do that. Shout out to everybody who's in the building. We've got an amazing show for you today, as usual. We're going to talk about some breaking news. Pam Bondi, Department of Homeland Security, ICE, the DOJ, they followed through and they made some arrests when it comes to these idiots that were walking into a place of worship and protesting God knows what. So we're going to talk about that in a second. We're also, of course, as you saw in the title and in the thumbnail, we're going to talk about Erika Kirk finally had enough of Candace Owens, and Candace Owens is facing some legal issues. And then we'll get into possibly some of the trial that we've been covering here with the au pair and the murder for hire, or the murder setup trial. But before we get into that, I've got to say what's up to the people, man. So good to see y'all in here. Thank you to everybody who's supporting. Usually I beg y'all for likes, but not today. Y'all went crazy with the likes. We have almost 2,000 of you that have liked the video so far, and we haven't even started. Where do they do that at? Nowhere. Shout out to the game. Of course, my beautiful, awesome, amazing Amy is in here first thing doing what she does, and that's be amazing. Make sure, if you haven't yet, go subscribe to Amy's channel. The link is in the description for you. Make sure you go show her some love. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any time she drops a premiere or posts a new video. Taco Tuesday is in here on the Thursday. We got the big dog J Money. A Fitz is in here. Shout out to Gerald, and good morning to everybody who's in here as well. We're gonna get into it. I said I wasn't gonna beg y'all for likes, but guys, likes are free. Please make sure you like the video as you're joining the show. It helps us out, helps us continue to grow. Also, if you're feeling super extra generous, you can share the video excuse me, as well. You can share the video to Instagram, X, Facebook. You can even share it via text message to your group chat or to someone individually. So thank you to those of you who have done that. Also, I will be reading super chats as we go throughout the show. So thank you to everybody who goes the extra mile and sends in the super chat. You can send in the super chat through YouTube. You can send it Cash App, PayPal. All the links to Cash App and PayPal are in the description. And thank you to those of you who support. Now, for some reason, I can't see my chat, so let me get this fixed. We're going to go ahead and get right into our first topic because, as I mentioned, and as I always say, which is true, we have a lot to get into today. And the first thing we have is, when it comes to everything that went down with Don Lemon and, of course, the entire mob that went into this church in Minneapolis and disrupted their church service to quote unquote protest, well, we actually have some arrests. So shout out to the Department of Justice, the Attorney General, for finally doing something about this. Not sure why it took this long when you have them literally in 4K saying that, hey, we're going to violate the Constitution. Didn't seem that difficult, but now we have let's hear from the Homeland Security, the Secretary of Homeland Security, to see what she has to say. Homeland Security investigators and the FBI agents arrested Nekima Armstrong, who you see on the screen. And agents arrested her, and she played a key role in orchestrating the church riots in St. Paul, Minnesota. She is being charged with a federal crime under 18 USC 241. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Religious freedom is the bedrock of the United States. There is no First Amendment right to obstruct someone from practicing their religion. And we saw the video from what happened in the church. These people were distraught. They were praying, they were continuing to play their music. You had kids in there that were crying. This is all around just a dumb, stupid move by these people. They could have been outside the church protesting. It would have been fine. Why do you have to walk into their church and disrupt the service like that? So there's a picture. There's a picture of her being arrested, which is absolutely amazing. And then we're actually going to hear from the Attorney General on what happened in the situation. So we've got the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, says this: minutes ago, at my direction, the Homeland Security and the FBI agents executed an arrest in Minnesota. So far, we have arrested Nekima Armstrong, who allegedly, which shout out to Phil Holloway. He mentioned this in the responses. I don't know why Pam Bondi is saying allegedly, because it's pretty straightforward either way, because Don Lemon and Nekima actually commented on this in 4K and said, "Oh yeah, we planned this. We orchestrated this. This is us." Anyway, she says allegedly, for what reason, I don't know. So far, we have arrested Nekima Armstrong, who allegedly played a key role in organizing the coordinated attacks on City Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. We will share more updates as they become available. Listen loud and clear. We do not tolerate attacks on places of worship. Now, shout out to the Attorney General for that. She also gives it updates and says, and a second arrest has been made at her direction. We have Chantel, hopefully I said that name right. Louisa Allen has been taken into custody. More to come. We will protect our houses of worship. Now, I say all that and I give Pam Bondi some pushback on the wording, because if I know anything about attorneys, I do know this. They use their words very carefully. And the reason I believe she's saying allegedly played a key role is because maybe Pam Bondi is insinuating there was something else behind this. Maybe they were paid to do this by someone else. There's bigger things at play. So she could possibly be leaving the door open to going after someone else. But with that being said, let's talk about and get into the second person who was arrested. And shout out to Cash Patel. He says this morning, the FBI and partners at the Homeland Security executed an arrest of Nekima Armstrong, one of the individuals who allegedly organized a coordinated attack on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota this last weekend on a violation of the FACE Act, which again, as we know, and we've talked about, we heard from Nate the lawyer, is a misdemeanor. But again, you hear Cash Patel saying allegedly organized. So again, I think there's a reason, we've heard it not once, but twice, that they're alleging Nekima was the one who organized this, because there could be somebody else they believe is a factor in this. The second person they arrested is this lady here. And that is a St. Paul school board member, Chantel Allen, and she's in custody at this time. Now, of course, all of this has been going on and we've been hearing a lot of news. Haven't really heard from everyone who was involved in the situation. Shortly before she was arrested, Nekima went on CNN and had this interview, this interaction, talking about how she felt about the protests they were doing and why she thought she was right in doing that. Now, Nekima is an attorney. She should know better. She most likely knew that she was going to be arrested. But again, I mean, who knows? So let's hear it from her, how she feels about this whole situation, and if what they did was right. Check it out.
Breaking news, an ICE memo obtained by the Associated Press shows that officers are authorized to forcibly enter people's homes without a warrant. That is a reversal to longstanding practice. And it comes as the DOJ has vowed to charge anti-ICE protesters who rushed into that church in St. Paul, Minnesota. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem last night saying arrests would be coming in the next several hours. Now, the protest on Sunday interrupted the service with chants like this.
There's Nekima in the middle. There's Miss Allen right there.
Protesters have defended the protest, saying that the pastor at the church is a local official serving with ICE. Now, DHS has not confirmed or denied that. Trump's DOJ, though, has called this a crime and said that it was desecrating a house of worship. So out front now is one of the organizers of that protest, Nekima Armstrong. She's also an attorney and the former president of the Minneapolis NAACP.
And again, this is why I'm saying you hear the wording that's being used. She is the organizer of the protest. You even see in the title, church protest organizer. So why is the FBI and why is Pam Bondi saying alleged? Are there some bigger factors at play? I think that's what's being insinuated here, if you read between the lines.
I appreciate your time tonight. This incident has obviously now captured national attention. It's front and center for the Justice Department. Has anyone from DOJ contacted you about potential charges?
No, they have not. They have talked a lot in the media about it, but we have not received any information regarding potential charges. And I do want to correct something that was said in the beginning. We did not rush into that church. We actually went and sat down and participated in the service. And after the pastor prayed, that is when I stood up and asked him a question in response to his prayer. And then he responded to me. And then I proceeded to ask him about Pastor David Easterwood, and how is it possible for him to serve as both the pastor and the director of ICE for Minnesota? And instead of responding to me, as soon as I said the name David Easterwood, the pastor says, shame, shame. And that is when I led us in chants, justice for Renee Good and hands up, don't shoot. So I want to clarify that. We didn't rush in. We didn't bust in.
Against the law.
We were a part of the service until I got up and posed that question to the pastor.
Yeah, except, Nekima, that's all well and good, but that doesn't matter. Why? Because you already said in an interview with Don Lemon before you even went into the church that you were there to disrupt things. You were there to call things out. You were there to confront them. So don't go into the church and pretend like, oh, we were just there to worship. And then the pastor addressed us and then we just retaliated. No, you claimed that you went there for a purpose, and that was to confront them about something you didn't agree with.
All right, and obviously I'm not going to dispute your saying what happened. I'm merely describing how CNN is describing it. I obviously wasn't in the room, but that moment that you're talking about, and obviously the way you lay it out could dramatically affect things. But the moment you talk about justice for Renee Good, I'll play that because we do have audio of that here first. Here it is.
Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good.
It's disruptive.
So when that happened, okay, obviously City's Church, where you held the protest, they say this was shameful. They say invading a church service to disrupt the worship of Jesus or any other act of worship is protected by neither the Christian scriptures nor the laws of this nation. And I want to note, Nekima, I understand you are an ordained reverend yourself. So I know that you're saying you went in and were peacefully in the church and let the prayer finish before you stood up. But what made you do that, to stand up for the chance for all of that inside a church?
Oh, we were welcomed inside of a church. I am a Christian woman. My faith informs my activism. And I think the question should be, what would lead a church like City's Church to have someone in a role that presents an inherent conflict of interest as being...
What Nekima is saying here is ridiculous. That what she's basically saying is, I say, hey, I see this person walking by on the street. Hey, Jim, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing great. You don't want to come on into the house, Jim? You want to sit down, have a glass of water? Sure. Jim comes into the house. Me and Jim are sitting there talking. And then Jim goes into my bedroom, starts taking my clothes. He finds my wallet, takes the cash out of my wallet. He goes into the living room, picks up the TV, and I say, whoa, Jim, what are you doing? You can't just take my stuff. Jim says, hey, you invited me in. I can do whatever I want now. This is not her being welcomed into the church. One, does not justify the fact that she went there and planned to go there to disrupt the service, to confront someone who was a part of that church. It doesn't nullify the fact that they still disrupted the service. They weren't members of that church. They weren't intending to join that church. And they went there and they intimidated people and they disrupted the service. I don't even know what she's talking about here. As an attorney, this is a stupid point, respectfully.
Oh, we were welcomed inside of a church. I am a Christian woman. My faith informs my activism. And I think the question should be, what would lead a church like City's Church to have someone in a role that presents an inherent conflict of interest as being both a pastor as well as not just an ICE agent, but the director of ICE in Minnesota. Now, if you have been watching the media reports, you already know that over 3,000 ICE agents have descended upon the Twin Cities. So if we want to talk about busting into somewhere and descending upon a place, then we need to be talking about what ICE has done. And that they have been extremely brutal towards residents of the Twin Cities and across the state of Minnesota.
What does that have to do with the church?
They have been allowed to use brute force. They have been allowed to bust into people's homes and bring high-powered military weapons. They've been allowed to use flashbang grenades, tear gas, most recently almost killing a 6-month-old baby who was riding in a vehicle with their family of 8 when ICE agents launched flashbang grenades and tear gas at that family's SUV. Now, this is not a family of immigrants. This is a family of African Americans, native-born African Americans, and their baby lost consciousness when that tear gas came into the vehicle, and the mom had to perform CPR while talking to someone through 911.
And by the way, if y'all are wondering what story she's talking about, this story that she's talking about has come out to be false. Not only false, but the parents left their kids in the car to join the protest. And that's why this happened. So,
and then their other two children, they had to rush to the emergency room because they have asthma and could not breathe as well. So if we want to talk about busting into somewhere, that is what we need to be talking about, and keep the main thing the main thing. Personally, I will not be gaslit by the Trump administration. They are trying to turn a peaceful, nonviolent demonstration into a crime. You have seen, Aaron, how they have weaponized the power of the Department of Justice against Donald Trump's political enemies. How is it that they can investigate our governor, our mayor, James Comey, and so many others, but they won't investigate Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent who brutally killed Renee Good, a wife and mother, on January 7th of 2026? That's the question that America should be asking. So anyone more concerned about us going and having a peaceful disruption of a church service than the reason that they were there, it needs to check their heart, and they need to check their theology.
This lady just said a peaceful disruption of a church service. Guys, we heard it from an attorney. We heard it from Nate, the lawyer. You cannot do this. Peaceful disruption, intimidation. It goes against the Constitution. It goes against the Klan Act. It goes against the FACE Act. So many laws have been broken here. It's amazing that this woman is trying to defend this. And again, what does the entire church or the church service itself have to do with this ICE agent or the person who wasn't even there at the time? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing and it's scary, honestly, because people are listening to a clown like this and say, yeah, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing the right thing. Don't come and do it in my church. That's all I'm saying. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments in the chat. This woman is now arrested and she's going to face some serious charges, as she should. Embarrassing, man. Shout out to all 6,000 of you that are in the building. What are we doing here? We still have yet to, for anyone to be able to tell me what they're actually protesting. All I heard was Trump, 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 Trump. What does that have to do with what ICE is doing? And we're actually going to get into the press conference that ICE held in Minneapolis today, but it's annoying, to be honest, to see that all of this hatred for a president is being taken out on people who are trying to do their job, who have been doing their jobs before President Trump was in office, and will do it after President Trump is in office. It's just weird to me. But I guess when people have hatred in their heart for someone, this is the way it comes out, and they end up doing stupid stuff. I mean, I can imagine this woman facing these types of charges would be able to continue to be an attorney. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Shout out to y'all. Let me see who we got in here. Say what's up to the people. CPE is in here, says this is all very, very coordinated. I agree. Yes. I need to get a sip of water. Good morning. Shout out to Julie. Good morning. Les Cleaver is in here too. Shout out to Les Cleaver. One of the hardest working guys I know. Yeah, and thank you to everyone that's liked the video. We're almost at 2,000 likes so far. Y'all are amazing for doing that. And I need to go ahead and stop talking so we can get into the rest of the content. So we actually have a press conference here. And let me see if I can pull it up. And I want to make sure the sound is good because the sound was struggling a little bit during this press conference, but we're going to get into it. CPE says the sip of water was not well coordinated. I should have done that during the segment and just muted myself. Hey, we got to do what we got to do. Let me make sure this is all good so y'all can see, and we'll go ahead and get into it. So with everything that's been happening in Minneapolis and in Minnesota specifically, we've got to hear from ICE and what's going on. We're going to hear from ICE. We're going to hear from Border Patrol, local law enforcement on all the work that they've been doing in Minneapolis and Minnesota in general. And then you guys can decide for yourself if ICE is actually doing something, if they're doing a good job. Again, I still have yet to see one person that has a legitimate concern about what ICE is doing. A lot of it seems like it's just hatred for Trump directed at ICE. And they don't like that ICE is taking people out of the country. We saw the same thing with Obama. A lot of people were upset about that. We saw the same thing with the other administrations. So we're going to get into the press conference here and see what ICE has to say about the work they've been doing in Minneapolis. Check it out. And the sound's going to be, I got to fix this sound for y'all too.
Good morning. I'm ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations Executive Associate Director Marcos Charles. Thank you for joining us this morning as we keep the public current on the status of Operation Metro Surge. As you know, DHS has arrested over 10,000 illegal aliens in Minnesota in the past year and over 3,300 illegal aliens since we launched Operation Metro Surge on November 29th. But instead of discussing statistics, we're going to discuss it's important to know that there's a cost for everything, and the cost of Minnesota's sanctuary policies is steep. ICE is in the Twin Cities to remove criminal illegal aliens who have been released from jails and prisons despite the risks they pose to the public. The people we've arrested are here are not people you want living next door to your families, your children, your parents, or your best friends. They're criminals like Salvadorian criminal illegal alien Carlos Antonio Flores Miguel, an MS-13 gang member and registered sex offender with a final order of removal from 2021.
Is this who y'all are protesting for? Just asking for a friend.
He was deported 4 times and convicted of illegal entry twice, and was charged with strong-arm rape and resisting an officer. Despite being arrested in El Salvador for robbery, the Biden administration released him in the United States in 2022. When we arrested him, he punched and kicked our officers and even attempted to grab an officer's gun. I don't know if it's up there, but this is our jump. This is the people that these protesters are protecting.
Yeah, I don't get it.
We also arrested St. Lucian criminal illegal alien Nelbert Joseph, who has 11 criminal convictions, including larceny, stolen vehicle offenses, and has a final order of removal in 2023. We picked up Cuban criminal illegal alien Ivan Rodriguez Lopez, who has a final order of removal from 2018 and was convicted of assault, possession of methamphetamine, theft, and burglary. He also has prior charges for neglect or endangerment of a child and a DUI. These are the people protesters are protecting. We picked up Cuban criminal illegal alien. Oh, sorry, it's the wrong guy. Another one is a Laotian criminal illegal alien Yao Li, who was convicted of second-degree murder.
Second-degree murder, guys. What are we doing?
And a Mexican criminal illegal alien, Pedro Laguna Cruz, who has multiple DUI convictions and a conviction of possession of controlled substance.
What are we doing, man?
These are the people who the church agitators were protesting for. These are the people, the violent agitators ramming our vehicles and attacking our officers, are trying to defend. It's easy to debate immigration enforcement when it's abstract, but behind every one of these arrests is someone who committed a crime that put your friends, family, neighbors, community in danger. The public deserves to know exactly who ICE is taking off the streets and why we're here today.
They got a whole website.
It's my responsibility to make sure everyone understands that ICE is only in this state to pick up the ball that local leadership has dropped. Today, I want to ask Governor Walz and Mayor Fry directly, please honor our immigration detainers that we've lodged against criminal illegal aliens in Minnesota, in the state's jails and prisons. Please work with us instead of against us. Please remember the victims whose voices are no longer here to speak for themselves. Please stop creating obstacles to keep Minnesotans safe. We're all on the same team, and our cooperation will save lives. I'd like to turn this over to Commander Greg Bovino. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Well, good morning. I'm Greg Bovino, Commander-at-Large of Customs and Border Patrol Assets here in this great city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm glad to be here this morning. I'll make a few remarks, and then we're going to open this up to questions. Please hold all questions until the end. Now, folks, we've seen the excellent work that Mr. Marcos Charles has detailed here. This excellent work on these screens here. Marcos, you and your team are out there every day, Border Patrol, ICE, and those allied teams, and they're taking these folks off the streets. These folks were walking the streets less than 24 hours ago. Marcos and his team and Border Patrol are taking them off the streets by the dozens and sometimes hundreds every single day. So that's some fantastic work. We want to continue to accomplish that work. But what I would like to touch upon this morning is how much better this work could be. How much better can we do what we do? And how much better for who? For you, which you being Ma and Pa America and the taxpayer, how much better this work can be for the taxpayer.
It's sad, man. Just think about this. The governor nor the mayor is standing up here supporting this. It's left them on their own. I mean, even the police chief, I'm surprised, isn't at this press conference. Why is it something being done to address what the craziness that's happening in Minneapolis? Shameful.
Now, a better to the citizens here of Minneapolis as well. Minneapolis 2020 riots, this most current influx of anarchists and folks that want to disparage and occlude this Title VIII law enforcement mission. So we can do this much better for the citizens of Minneapolis. And what this revolves around is the climate, the current climate surrounding law enforcement and this Title VIII mission in which ICE, Border Patrol, and these allied teams are fighting so hard to accomplish. Now, this climate that we talk about is not very favorable right now in Minneapolis. Let's put that as our first point. It's not very favorable to federal law enforcement here in Minneapolis. Let's take a look at what happened yesterday. Some of you may know that Border Patrol and ICE were out conducting our Title VIII mission, and several of our teams were set upon by violent protesters, anarchists, rioters, individuals, and extremists that were intent on ensuring that we did not take these very people that Marcos talked about off the streets. Intent that we would not arrest these individuals, these illegal aliens that prey upon Ma and Pa America every single day. So yesterday I had the fortunate opportunity to once again work with those fine agents in ICE and Border Patrol. And in doing so, from the very beginning of the shift all the way through the end of the shift, all day long, it was a running battle with those very extremists that I've talked about. So as we were looking to conduct that targeted enforcement against some very vile criminals, we were met with resistance. One of those criminals that we were after was Victor Urice. Mr. Victor Urice, a target that we were after yesterday. This individual is a convicted felon from Mexico with serious weapons offenses, fleeing from police, and a criminal rap sheet so long that I can't remember it all. That's who we were after yesterday. Now, as we were after Mr. Urice, we were set up on rioters who tried to stop us at every point yesterday. Simply using the restroom at a gas station was met with significant resistance. A lot of people would call that stalking. I don't think any of us would like to be stalked, but being stalked for 8 or 10 hours at a time is not a very favorable climate. Hey, folks, where were the cops yesterday? Where was Minneapolis Police Department during that 8-hour stalking events? Anybody care to venture a guess? I'd like to venture a guess, and it's I don't know.
They had their hands in their pockets.
So it's that climate we're talking about. Violent mobs, rioters, who became violent towards the end of the day. Our very last stop at a gas station was met with violence. Individuals that perpetrated violence against our Border Patrol agents, forcing us to take action, not against Victor Urice, the individual that we were after, but to take action against those violent anarchists who didn't want us to catch Victor Urice, if you can believe that. Absolutely unbelievable. Hey, where were the cops during that 8 hours of stalking and violence? Where was Mayor Fry? Where was, I don't know, Governor Waltz? I didn't see him around anywhere. You know, there's a saying, I think Thomas Paine said that in one of his pamphlets, Common Sense. He said politics and politicians on their very best day are barely tolerable evil. Was this Mayor Fry's very best day yesterday? Oh, I don't think so. Absolutely not.
Dang, call
So put yourselves as the media and the press there. Would you like to be stalked all day long with folks that want to hurt you all day long? Think about that. Also, I'd implore upon you to report that. We were forced to utilize less lethal devices again yesterday to keep the public safe, to keep the Border Patrol agents safe, and so that we could continue to conduct that Title VIII mission. That's our job here. We're not going to be deterred in conducting the Title VIII mission, no matter what that climate is, no matter that violent rhetoric by Mayor Fry, Waltz, and others, individuals that come into churches, as Mr. Charles said. We're not going to be deterred
Nekima
from
got
that.
arrested.
So CS gas, pepper balls, a whole litany of less lethal devices were used to ensure that our agents, those agitators and rioters, and the public were safe, and that we continue to conduct that mission. Citizens were failed twice yesterday. They were failed twice yesterday. First, as I said, the response from Minneapolis Police Department and other local agencies. Missing in action. That's what you call missing in action. When fellow law enforcement officers are in need, missing in action. Unconscionable. And then the second part of that is these criminal illegal aliens that were let back out on the streets. Let's go back again to Mr. Victor Urice. He was on probation, by the way. Our target was on probation. He was let back go on the streets of Minneapolis so that we had to go into the community. Never should have happened. We had to go into the community to remove him. Why not, Mayor Fry, Governor Waltz, turn this individual over to us?
Let him do
so
their
we're
job.
Not in the streets, so that anarchists are not allowed to ply their trade of anarchy against law enforcement. Now, this didn't happen overnight. This anarchist-type movement has been well established here in Minneapolis since 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. The anarchists love this, by the way. They love this. This is just what they want. This is just what Mayor Fry, Governor Waltz, and others are giving them. This emboldened rhetoric vilifies law enforcement and creates very unsafe situations for law enforcement and occludes from the mission of taking these bad people, as Mr. Marcos Charles said, off the streets. Compliance, they think, is optional. Compliance is not optional, not when law enforcement conducts. It's legal, lawful, ethical, and moral duties. It's not optional. There is no option there.
Agreed.
Let's get this straight. Do the anarchists want Victor Urice to remain on the streets? I think that's the basic question. Just Mayor Fry and Governor Waltz. I've never heard them say a word about these violent, illegal aliens that roam their streets. I guess they want them there. But guess what?
Well, and they also aren't saying, hey, guys, protest, but protest peacefully. Don't go and disrupt the church and violate the Mann Act and the Klan Act. Don't start putting your hands and putting phones in the faces of the ICE agents who are trying to do their job. Don't touch them. Don't push them. Don't throw stuff at them. Throw snowballs at them. Don't block the road. Try not to break the law when you're protesting. It's not that difficult to say. Why hasn't the mayor and the governor said that? Why?
And occludes from the mission of taking these bad people, as Mr. Marcos Charles said, off the streets. Compliance, they think, is optional. Compliance is not optional, not when law enforcement conducts. It's legal, lawful, ethical, and moral duties. It's not optional. There is no option there. Let's get this straight. Do the anarchists want Victor Urice to remain on the streets? I think that's the basic question. Just Mayor Fry and Governor Waltz. I've never heard them say a word about these violent, illegal aliens that roam their streets. I guess they want them there. But guess what? ICE, the U.S. Border Patrol, and those allied law enforcement agencies, President Trump, Secretary Noem, we don't want it and we won't have it. Law enforcement unquestionably is being targeted right now in Minneapolis. I'll close by saying that we're being targeted now in the Title VIII mission. What does this spread to in the future? That rule of law and order, what else will that spread to? Maybe some speeding tickets, or maybe another law or a situation that someone doesn't agree with. It'll spread to that as well. We're not going to allow that to happen here in Minneapolis or anywhere else. We're here to stay the course. We will stay the course. U.S. Border Patrol, ICE, and all allied law enforcement agencies, we're here and we are going to accomplish the mission. I'm glad to be here. Our agents are ecstatic to be here. ICE agents are glad to be here. Removing that off the streets, it will continue. Thank you.
All right, there it is. We're going to get into the question and answer segment here shortly. Let me know what you think about this. The mayor and the governor need to be held accountable here. And the police chief, we did a video on the police chief somewhat supporting ICE and just telling people to let them do their job. If you have an issue with it, there's a way to go about dealing with that issue. But why are the governor and the mayor so silent and honestly encouraging people to push back against what ICE is doing and how they're trying to move? Very strange, very divisive in their own city. Let me know what y'all think in the comments in the chat. Thank y'all for being here. We've got 6,000 of y'all still in the building. Shout out to my beautiful, awesome, amazing Amy in here, dropping the super sticker. Look at her, showing love. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for everything that you do. And thank you for the support and the super sticker as well. I need it, man. I need all the love I can get right now. So thank you. Y'all make sure you go support and go show some love to Amy's channel. If you haven't yet, the link is in the description. Go subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any time she drops a new video or does a premiere. Those premieres are fun over on Amy's channel too. So let's go ahead and get back into this. Let me double check and make sure I didn't miss anything. It's just, again, it's weird to me that the governor and the mayor are so silent on this issue. And the mayor has somewhat tiptoed around it, saying, hey, listen, I'm not against ICE. I just don't like the way they're doing things. That's fine. But can we have a conversation with your community, mayor? Can you talk to your city and say, hey, listen, guys, don't interfere with law enforcement. It's that simple. Don't break the law so you're not arrested. Why is it that's complicated? So what we're going to do next, excuse me, let's go ahead and get into the question and answer section of this press conference between ICE, talking about what's going on in Minneapolis, what's going on in Minnesota, the work they're doing there, and some of the lack of support and the issues they've run into just being on the streets. Here we go.
Commander. Mr. Nicole, for the name and outlet. Sure, Nicole Candace, CBS National News, Commander Buzino, EA Details. Thank you so much for being here. 2 days ago, you told us that Minnesota released nearly 500 undocumented migrants in state custody instead of transferring them over to ICE. And we took those numbers to Paul Schnell, who is the commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Corrections. He called it fundamentally false. He said, as a matter of policy, DOC cooperates with ICE and ICE detainers. He showed us multiple examples of convicted criminals serving time in Minnesota state prisons, including names that you displayed on the—
Sorry, the volume's really low, guys.
From state prisons into DHS custody days before. EAD Charles, we also took your statement that there were more than 1,360 pending ICE detainers statewide. And he told us his department conducted a statewide survey, a review, and found just 207 individuals in state prisons and 94 in county jails are subject to ICE detainers right now. That's 301. Can you help us understand why Minnesota's top corrections official says not only has the state been honoring ICE detainers for decades as a policy, he doesn't understand where the Department of Homeland Security is getting its numbers from? What is your response?
So the Department of Corrections for Minnesota does honor our detainers. We pick individuals up from the state. It's the counties that do not honor our detainers. Mm-hmm. So when the state gets them and those detainers are lodged against the state, we get those bodies. So however, the state DOC is the only entity that we can pick up from. We're opening up dialogue with some of the counties, and we are looking to see if they are more willing to honor our detainers at this time. The 1,300 number is statewide in counties that we have lodged. They may not have record of it if they don't file them because they don't honor them. They have no reason to keep them.
How do you fix that problem, and which counties are not cooperating with
Just look at the majority of the counties. Just go through the list. I believe there are 87 counties in Minnesota. Just look through every one of their records. That's what I suggest.
And basically the question that's being asked is about these criminals being detained and then released back onto the street. ICE is saying, hey, can you guys give us a chance to come get them before you release them? None of these counties, majority of the counties are not cooperating with that, and they're just letting them go. Could be a lot of issues there. Could be back laws, could be capacity, could be the court system and the way that moves, but still seems like a simple solution.
Just look at the majority of the counties. Just go through the list. I believe there are 87 counties in Minnesota. Just look through every one of their records. That's what I suggest as far as that. As far as what we can do to make it better, the governor should talk to the counties and let them honor our detainers. Many of these sheriffs want to help us.
And just as a final point, though, it is true that some of the worst have been handed over to ICE by Minnesota state officers from Minnesota state prisons.
Some of the ones that we have up here,
Correct.
the ones that we've listed, I believe, have all been either arrested at large or come from a county that has released them, and we picked them up.
They had to go get them.
But through a coordinated transfer.
No, not all.
Go ahead.
Commander Bovino, sources tell MS Now that you had an argument with a magistrate judge on duty here in Minnesota recently. Can you describe why you were upset with that magistrate judge?
So
Okay, sir, I've not
they're asking him about an argument he had with the judge over what?
had any argument with a magistrate judge. You're going to have to be more specific there. I've not talked to a magistrate judge from then to myself, no.
We understand it's because you were upset with the magistrate judge for rejecting arrests on the grounds of assaults on federal officers. They argued it wasn't warranted. Do you have any comment on that?
I do. We work very hard with Department of Justice, with the courts to gather and obtain those warrants. One of those warrants will go back to Victor Urice here. We did work several days to get a warrant for this individual, and we worked through what we needed to do to get a warrant for this individual. And we're going to continue to work with judges and the courts to obtain these warrants with those judges.
And then final question, do you have any moral or ethical qualms about detaining a 5-year-old on his way back from preschool?
Be more specific.
William Ramos from the Columbia Heights School District, do you have any moral or ethical
You're
qualms
asking
about
about detaining
We
a
conduct
5-year-old?
legal, ethical, and moral law enforcement missions here in Minneapolis. So as far as what you're saying with that particular individual, you'll have to be more specific because I didn't detain a 5-year-old. And we're going to continue with that law enforcement mission. Oftentimes you will see violent illegal aliens that perhaps do have families. And those violent, criminal, illegal aliens are going to be arrested. I've got no qualms about making America a safer place when we arrest those illegal aliens. Next question.
Commander Alex Capriello with News Nation. You talked a lot today about the hostile environment that your agents are facing. We do know that military assets, namely National Guardsmen, are literally waiting in the wings for the president to invoke the Insurrection Act to actually provide that backup that potentially you might need. Would you encourage the president at this moment, given what you've seen on the ground here in Minneapolis, to invoke the Insurrection Act to help you?
I give Secretary Noem and the president, as do the other law enforcement leadership here, information briefs and data points multiple times a day so they can make any decisions that they need to make as to whether to put troops on the ground or not. So I'll leave that for President Trump and Secretary Noem based on the vast amount of information that is parlayed to them each day.
And a quick follow-up, you used some tear gas yesterday, and I know you just mentioned it, but obviously there was a recent ruling that was an appeal from the Department of Justice to allow your agents and federal agents to use those types of measures. Can you comment on what that allows you and your men and women to actually do out here on the ground?
Sure. I believe the case you're talking about was overruled and yesterday by a higher court anyway. It wouldn't have mattered because we follow the law. When we utilize less lethal munitions or any use of force, it's called the minimum use of force necessary to either effect an arrest and or accomplish a mission. So we did that. Whether or not that ruling was in effect, we still did that yesterday. Our agents are being violently assaulted by agitators and anarchists, and the use of that less lethal
multiple times
is something that I always call more than exemplary. A great use of force yesterday to keep agitators, Border Patrol agents, and the public safe. Let's go again to that word less lethal. Less lethal. If we didn't have those less lethal munitions to utilize the minimum amount of force necessary to effect an operation and or an arrest, What's next?
Go ahead, right here.
CNN's up next.
The father, as well as shows in Texas, just can you confirm that the 5-year-old was also sent to Texas with that father and why he wasn't left with the family here in Minnesota? And just to follow up on that, you talked about stalking as you described it. Are you saying you called for Minneapolis police help and they didn't respond?
I'll go the second part of that first. As far as the stalking, Minneapolis Police Department's been called on several situations that they have not responded. Yes, by the patrol. Let me give you a specific example.
That's interesting. So ICE is calling local law enforcement and saying, hey, can you guys please help us out? We're getting harassed. We're getting stalked. We're trying to do our job. Can you guys come and give us some protection? And their local law enforcement says, we got other stuff to do. Sorry, guys, not going to help you.
Other than yesterday. Yesterday was 8 hours of that. But let me go specifically to 2 days ago. We had 2 off-duty agents in a restaurant eating. And they were descended upon by that violent mob. And the staff of that restaurant in downtown Minneapolis decided to try to lock them in the restaurant with those 40 to 50 agitators. Minneapolis Police Department was called. They never showed up. Our agents were in there for 45 minutes, and we called a tactical team that went out to extract those agents from that restaurant. So that's what we're up against as far as state and local help, if that gives you any indication of the depth and scope of that. Now, as far as the 5-year-old and the father, I'll let ICE answer that because we turn our detainees over to ICE, and they do a fantastic job of discerning what and how that's going to happen.
Just one follow-up from Canada before you turn it over, because I've seen you in multiple cities at this point, in Chicago, here in Minneapolis as well, and the tactics have been very public, very public-facing, just from a bystander perspective. It seems like that's the point, correct me if I'm wrong, but why not take care of some of this enforcement during hours where you would be less likely to encounter the public to that effect, but to detain an American citizen who might be
We go where the threat is, and we're going to go at the optimal time where those threats are present. Think serving a warrant, things like that, or these targeted enforcement efforts. What you may not realize is those efforts occur 24/7. Oftentimes, we cannot control where that suspect is at a given time.
They get alerted.
But what we can control is a safe time to apprehend that suspect. Oftentimes, that's early morning hours, or when we encounter that individual that is alone or perhaps not near a crowd. So that's why we're in an area. It's just even getting in or near the area we're set upon by anarchists and rioters and things like that.
All right, right here.
Wow.
Sure, I won't give you an exact number. Those numbers are going to remain law enforcement sensitive, but several thousand Border Patrol, ICE, and allied teams, so several thousand.
Orienteer with the Daily Caller. California Governor Gavin Newsom did take the stage at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Speaking to World Lead, he actually took a direct shot at you. Newsom saying, quote, Greg Levino is dressed up as he literally went on eBay and purchased SS garb, secret police, private army, masked men are disappearing people with no process. Do you have a response for the California governor who just made those comments?
Sure, Governor Newsom's had a long record of lying. And again, those are lies. I don't shop on eBay. This garb, as he quite uneloquently puts it, is a standard Border Patrol issue, has been since May the 28th, 1924. That's 101 years ago. So as far as what he specifically said, I don't know. While he's enjoying Davos and whatever he's enjoying over there, I'm out being, our agents are being assaulted and stalked by violent rioters, many of which I believe they draw inspiration from his words when we operate in California, because he says the same thing, some of the same things that Fry and Waltz said. So he is responsible for that very violence that our agents are subject to on a daily basis. Remember, it started in California, operation at large, Los Angeles.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Jack Grubb with the Associated Press. Question for Mr. Charles. There are specific operations where ICE has broken into homes without a judicial warrant, and we know that there is an internal memo telling officers that they can enter a home without a judicial warrant. Do you feel that you're justified in entering a home by force using only an administrative warrant? And if so, how often have you done that in Minneapolis?
So first off, we don't break into anybody's homes. We make entry in either a hot pursuit with a criminal arrest warrant or an administrative arrest warrant. The thing to remember is these administrative arrest warrants have been deemed justified by courts, also in immigration purposes. Also, the one thing that you need to know is that these warrants are based on an immigration judge's decision that these individuals are now removable from the United States. This is their final order of removal, and those warrants are based on that decision.
Wow.
The second question is just how many cases have there been where you have entered a home using only an
And again, right now that's law enforcement sensitive. I'm not going to go into those numbers.
Commander, you said yesterday with the MPD, calling them. Did you actually call Minneapolis police yesterday during that? And at a certain point, you obviously are very visible. People recognize you when you're out with these agents. Do you think that your presence on these operations is helping or hindering in the moment?
Sure. I think anytime law enforcement is conducting that Title 8 mission, it certainly helps. As far as tactically helping yesterday, actually, I do, and I'll explain that, is that violent mob decided, perhaps because I was a bit more visible, to follow us. 16 other strike teams out in the field yesterday arresting dozens of those criminal illegal aliens. Were relatively free from that. So I believe if they want to focus their attention on me, that's better than focusing attention on those Border Patrol agents and ICE officers doing that lawful mission across Minneapolis.
Did you and your team call Minneapolis police yesterday?
Yes, at some point, yes.
All right, last question again.
Eric Shalou from KCB. Thank you for taking our questions. People in Minnesota want to know when this surge will end. Has there been a date set? Is there a certain number of people you want to apprehend?
That's a good question. So if y'all couldn't hear, the reporter's asking, the people of Minnesota want to know when this project, when this operation will end, how much time they're going to take, how many people they're planning on arresting. I'm pretty sure he's going to say, oh, well, this is something that's ongoing because it's a continued problem. Millions and millions and millions of people have entered that state and have entered the United States illegally and are committing these types of crimes. So I'll let him answer. Shout out to Greg.
DOJ filings that put a number at over 60,000 people. Explain to folks how long you're going to be here again.
As Marcos's team and U.S. Border Patrol work together, and we continue to apprehend dozens, if not hundreds, of these criminal illegal aliens a day, we're going to continue conducting that mission. We're not going to put a date or a timeline to stop this mission. This mission's ongoing until there are no more of those criminal illegal aliens roaming the streets of Minneapolis.
Is there a number, though?
Makes sense.
There is a number, and it's called all of them.
Hey, shout out
you
to
bet.
Greg.
All of them. We're not going to allow criminal illegal aliens to walk the streets and have more Molly Tibbetts, Jacqueline Nungare's, and all the other ones.
Riley.
I mean, you're worried about numbers. I'm worried about the deaths of Americans. Let's talk about that a little bit. Maybe Jacqueline Nungare, what her last moments were like. How come we never talk about that? And you're worried about numbers. Wait, no, hold on. Numbers? Jacqueline Nungare. Numbers, but your numbers, Jacqueline Nungare, well, actually, we never hear about her or the other thousands of American citizens. I'm worried about that vastly more than a number or a date. We're going to make Mom and Pa America safe. President Trump is, Secretary Noem is, and we're going to get them all. Did that answer your question, sir?
Really quick.
Thank you.
Good job.
Can you comment on the vice president coming?
I'm very glad to have the vice president here, Mr. Vance.
Vance
Obviously,
is in the city. Nice.
Mr. Vance is a supporter of the Title 8 mission. He knows what's at stake here. He knows what's at stake in Minnesota and nationwide. And one of our most ardent supporters of that Title 8 mission, one of our most ardent supporters of taking criminal illegal aliens off the streets, J.D. Vance from Ma and Pa America. Just like President Trump's Secretary Noem, he's for Ma and Pa America. And I can't think of a better individual to come down and talk to those Border Patrol agents and ICE officers. Marcos and I were talking here just before this press conference. One of the things that J.D. Vance does is he wants to hear from the rank and file Border Patrol agents and ICE officers. That's something very unique to him. He wants to come down and talk to them individually, see what's on their mind, their issues, concerns, and what's going on the ground. You don't see that a lot, but you sure see it with the Vice President. Vice President Vance, we can't wait to see him. We're glad to have him.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
This way, sir.
There they go. What do y'all think? They need some support. They need some help. and all this opposition. I don't know what local law enforcement's going to do. The reason there's so much of the struggle and the reason ICE is having to do this, because all of the people, and let's just not talk about the illegal immigrants, because I think that's a sensitive thing. People get upset about it. The illegal criminals, illegal immigrants that are criminals still in the country, just being released back onto the streets after they've committed crimes is insane. It makes no sense. Make the phone call. Do what you have to do. Follow ICE's direction in taking this person out of the country. Why would you want to put that person back into your community? Doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it does to someone else out there. Let me know what y'all think in the comments in the chat. I had to turn this back down too because the sound was so quiet on that video. But y'all know we got things upgraded over here, so we had to get the sound right for y'all. Shout out to everybody who's in the building. DeAndre says main concerns are about the illegal criminals being apprehended, but more so about the citizens who are being grabbed out of their cars from stores while shopping, etc., for no reason other than ICE profiling to see whom they snatch or harass. Okay, when did that happen and where did that happen? Where did that happen and how often does it happen? Because let's be real, guys. We talked about the Commissioner Michael Cox of the Boston Police Department. He got apprehended by his own people and local law enforcement. So this happens. It's gonna happen. I'm not saying it's right, but ICE doing it, local law enforcement doing it, it's a part of the way things go. And that's not an ICE specific issue. I mean, Commissioner Michael Cox got arrested and beat up by his own department when he was off duty because he was a black man wearing a hoodie or whatever he was wearing. So again, that's not an ICE specific issue. So that again is not enough reason for me personally to be like, oh, yep, hey, everything that ICE is doing, we got to stop it because they misidentified somebody or this person looked Hispanic and they pulled them over out of their car and asked them for their driver's license and social security or whatever they're doing. So while I get that's frustrating and can be annoying, it seems like a problem that's easily fixable. And it's just a part of what goes on. Because I mean, I've never been falsely identified, but I've definitely been discriminated because of how I look. That's not an ICE specific thing. Well, I don't know. I get the point, but man, we can't think pretending like this doesn't happen. I mean, it happens in all aspects of life, really. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you to everyone that liked the video again. Nearly 2,000 of you have liked the video, which is absolutely amazing. We're going to go ahead and keep it moving into our next topic. I know y'all want to hear about Erika Kirk and Candace Owens and Erika Kirk taking shots at Candace. But before we get into that, I need to take down my breaking news because this isn't really breaking news. Happened in the last 48 hours. So it's somewhat breaking news, but we got to talk about Erika Kirk. We've been covering everything that's been going on with the Charlie Kirk assassination and the trial that is going to be coming up for Tyler Robinson. Erika Kirk, she's had enough of the delays. She's had enough of the complaining from the defense, Tyler Robinson's team. And as the official victim representative in this case, Erika Kirk says, hey, we got to get this taken care of. I want this trial to be done. And I want to see this man brought to justice. Check this out and hear what Erika Kirk had to say about this.
Erika Kirk is demanding a speedy trial in the case against her husband's accused killer, Tyler Robinson, after she claims his defense team is delaying proceedings. The new filing from Erika Kirk's attorney reads in part, quote, nobody believed in the importance of the United States Constitution more than Charlie Kirk. And although the United States Constitution guarantees criminal defendants many rights, it does not guarantee them the right to cause undue delay in the criminal justice process.
That's fair.
This follows Friday's hearing on a defense motion to disqualify the prosecution team for conflict of interest.
And again, we got to get Erika Kirk on the channel, watching the channel, because clearly she doesn't follow true crime, because she would know that this is part of the course and it happens all the time. I've seen it in legal proceedings on a personal level. Y'all have seen it in legal proceedings here. This is just a part of the game. You have a 30-day hearing that takes place 90 days after everything happened. So it's the court system.
So they argue one of the prosecutor's children was present when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Fox News contributor and criminal defense attorney Donna Rotuno joins us now. Good morning, Donna.
Good morning, Ainsley.
Good morning. Do you agree with Erika Kirk? Does this need to speed up? I mean, it's amazing. It's been 5 months. He hasn't even pled guilty or innocent. He hasn't had a preliminary hearing. Is that normal, and why is it taking so long?
So it is taking extremely long. This is very atypical. Normally, a preliminary hearing or an indictment is a procedural step to move the case forward. And in many jurisdictions, you're not even entitled to the evidence or the discovery prior to that hearing as the defense. In this case, the defense has asked for all of the evidence, they've asked time to prepare, and they've continued that preliminary hearing until May, which when you think about the fact that this crime happened in September, that is an extremely long period of time. So I think what Erika Kirk and her lawyers were doing in filing this, it was actually strategically very smart, because they're saying, look, Ms. Kirk has rights too, and her rights are that this case be adjudicated swiftly. Now, that does not mean that it sacrifices the rights of the defendant, but it does say, hey, look, you have to think about me and what's good for me too. And so I think strategically this was smart. I think it's a way to put some pressure on the judge and say, Judge, it's up to you to run your courtroom and move this case along.
Here is the
and I mean, even with that being said, again, there's certain processes that you have to go through to get to that point. And even if, let's say 2 months, 3 months, 4 months after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, they're still going to have trouble finding a jury here. And I'm honestly surprised they haven't moved this case, because trying to find a jury to be fair on this one is going to be tough in that area, especially. So you could try and rush it. I still think there would be certain delays throughout this case. Maybe Erika just wants to see the case move forward. It's probably another procedural move by her attorney as well.
Judge questioning the defense on delaying the proceedings after they bring up concerns with who will address the prosecution's conflict of interest. Listen to this.
We do think this is a serious issue, because I think
it's not a serious issue.
The question of who litigates this issue on behalf of the state is in itself wrapped up in this conflict.
I'm trying to understand why that wasn't filed in advance of the hearing, to put the court on notice at the very minimum, and just to allow the court to do what the court does.
So, Donna, what happens next? Can the judge say, I need you to plea, and then will the judge make a decision soon on the prosecution, whether or not they will be removed?
Yes, the judge should have made that decision when we were all in Utah the other day. I cannot believe we have let this continue the way we have. To me, this is a very clear-cut legal issue, and the defense has failed to show that in any way the prosecution team prosecuting this case is any way unfair to Mr. Robinson. There's no conflict whatsoever. The fact that one prosecutor's child was at the event where this awful assassination took place should not in any way dictate this prosecution's office moving forward. So I wish the judge would have just made a decision that day and said, we're moving on from this. There's no conflict. Let's move on to the next issue. So hopefully there will be a decision. He is bringing everybody back swiftly, February 3rd, and hopefully they will put this matter to bed and move on to a preliminary hearing, the entry of a plea, or guilty or not guilty plea, and move on. It's time to continue this process.
Yeah, it's very frustrating for Americans to watch the delays. Why hasn't he entered a plea, and are you hearing what his plea will be?
Not guilty, obviously.
So normally your plea is not entered until your arraignment. So until you have a preliminary hearing or you are indicted, there's no formal charges per se to plead guilty on. So you have the preliminary hearing, and then the judge says, finding of probable cause, that information comes out. And so now he's being held on criminal complaints, but the information is actually the formal charges. So that's really the appropriate time to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. And of course, we know he will enter a plea of not guilty at that point.
Okay, well, good for Erika for putting pressure on the judge. Hopefully we'll speed this thing up.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Donna. All right, we have more Fox and Friends straight ahead.
All right, so now we're going to get into hearing about what's going on with Lance Twiggs. We talked about Lance, the roommate and alleged lover of Tyler Robinson. And now we're finally getting to hear from someone close to Lance, Lance's family, because Lance seemingly disappeared as soon as Tyler Robinson was arrested. Haven't heard anything from Lance other than Kash Patel saying that Lance was somewhat cooperating with them and has since disappeared. So check this out. We're finally going to hear from the family.
5 months after the assassination of Charlie Kirk on a Utah University campus, the questions and conspiracy theories surrounding what happened continue to sprout and sprawl on the internet. That fatal shot rang out in September, and the person who was arrested,
September
Tyler
9th.
Robinson, is set to appear in court tomorrow. He's charged with Charlie Kirk's murder. So will the trial of Tyler Robinson answer some of the questions, some of the unknowns? One of the hottest subjects of speculation are these bizarre text messages between Tyler Robinson and his partner, Lance Twiggs, which have only added to the case against Robinson. But what did Lance Twiggs know, if anything? And where is Twiggs now? In an exclusive interview with a family member of Lance Twiggs, News Nation senior national correspondent Brian Enton tried to get some answers. Brian joins us now from Utah. Brian, this must have been quite a conversation because Lance Twiggs has been in hiding since Charlie Kirk was killed.
Yeah.
He has, Elizabeth, and Lance Twiggs has really been one of the big mysteries of this entire thing. I'm at Utah Valley University right now. This is the courtyard right here where Charlie Kirk was killed. I spoke with one of Lance Twiggs' family members who told me about his relationship with Tyler.
That's so wild. Hey, here's the place Charlie Kirk was killed. So wild. Charlie Kirk died over there, by the way.
Robinson, also the fact that he was in hiding, apparently under FBI protection. That is no more. He is not being protected by the FBI anymore. And the family member actually casted some doubt about whether he will actually be cooperating with authorities moving forward. She didn't want to show her face because the entire family has been receiving threats since all of this happened. I'll listen to a little bit of what she told me.
I mean, both of them are super smart. I mean, Lance was... I do know that, and I remember, you know, he was a, I don't know, concert pianist. Like his talent for piano music was off the charts. Like not normal. It was very impressive.
Can I be the first to say we don't care? We really don't.
And that's kind of what I've heard about Tyler, is that he was just so smart and it's just a shame that these kids that had so much potential and such a bright future.
What do you think changed?
I don't, you know, and then being as antisocial as they were, from my understanding of, you know, playing these games and being a part of this this Discord group, you know, it just, they didn't seem like they were in a real world.
There's text messages between Tyler and Lance where they're texting after the event. A lot of people find them unusual.
The world that they were in, like this gaming world, like that was a normal way that they kind of spoke, that this wasn't an abnormal, the way they spoke wasn't abnormal.
There have been a lot of...
Yes, it was. What is the definition of abnormal? And I should have had this pulled up. The definition of abnormal, I'm sure, is something that is usually done. Devastating from what is normal or usual, typically in a way that is undesirable or worrying. We saw a video of Tyler Robinson speaking to the police. He did not say vehicle. He said car, like any normal person would. So why would you text that about the vehicle? I had to go back and retrieve the vehicle. The vehicle has been secured. Nobody talks like that. So again, I don't know who this lady is, but trying to convince us that what we saw wasn't abnormal. You know, please don't do that.
Gaming world, like that was a normal way that they kind of spoke, that this wasn't an abnormal. The way they spoke wasn't abnormal.
There have been a lot of questions about where Lance is now, whether he's in the FBI protection program. It's been a big mystery. He kind of has disappeared.
Yeah, my understanding was for the first few weeks, because there were so many threats.
Is it he?
Against his family that and him, that they had. my understanding is they did have a little bit of FBI detail, and they kind of moved around a little bit, but they're not anymore. He's with his family.
Will he still cooperate with the investigation from what you know?
I don't know. When I first found out about how he was taken in and talked to by the police, I know that they said that he was very cooperative, but they had to go get him and bring him in. He didn't voluntarily go in and say, hey, I heard about this and I have some knowledge. He had to go in, then he handed things over when they asked for him, but he didn't give up any information until he had to.
There are so many theories out there, and I'm sure you've seen them.
People think other people
were involved, or another government was involved. I mean, you're kind of in the middle of this. How confident are you that police have the right guy, Tyler Robinson?
100%. They have the right guy.
Okay.
In terms of the court hearing tomorrow, Elizabeth,
lady.
it's a pretty significant one. The defense team, Tyler Robinson's defense, is asking for the entire prosecution team to be kicked off the case because one of the prosecutor's kids was actually here at the Charlie Kirk event, about 80 feet away from Charlie Kirk when he was shot. And the defense is saying that that's a conflict of interest, that the prosecutor's child is technically a witness in this entire thing. The judge will make a decision about that tomorrow. Elizabeth?
Yeah,
all right, Brian Anton.
Again, that's some BS. I'm not buying it. No reason to disqualify the entire prosecution team because of that. I mean, that's like saying, oh, well, we're going to disqualify the prosecution team because they live here and this affected them in their community. It doesn't make sense. I'm not buying this whole story with the Tyler Robinson thing. I think there's a lot that needs to be understood before I can get to that point. I wish people, it's really hard to hear and see people, especially ones that were close to Charlie Kirk, I won't name any names, that are already convicting this man. They've already convicted Tyler Robinson based on what? I haven't seen any definitive evidence yet that points to, yes, 1000% for sure, Tyler Robinson is the one that did this. We have this mysterious way that he was caught by his parents, his father. We have this mysterious way he turned himself in. We have this mysterious way he escaped, this mysterious way that he hid the gun, this mysterious way that he communicated with Lance Twiggs. None of this points to, for sure, 100% beyond a reasonable doubt, that Tyler Robinson is the one that did this. So I wish everyone would take guilty until proven innocent seriously, because this is a man's life at stake. And if he's proven that he did not do this, and we actually see the evidence play out in court, a lot of people are going to look foolish and have a lot more questions as well. Let me know what y'all think in the comments in the chat. Thank y'all for being here, man. Shout out to the gang. Appreciate y'all. Good afternoon. Keep it moving in New York is in here. Good to see you. Wow. I'm surprised. I've seen so many people. I think there was something, I need to find it on X. There was some governor or somebody who was saying something about they're calling for Tyler Robinson to be publicly executed if he's found guilty, or just they want Tyler Robinson to be publicly executed in general. And I think not only is that insane, but I also think it's interesting because so many people are just throwing innocent until proven guilty out the window because of their love for Charlie Kirk or hate for Tyler Robinson. And you gotta let the trial play out. I'm trying to pull this up, but it's not showing up for some reason. I think X might be down because I saw the first place I saw this was over on X. And it was a congressman or someone saying that they think Tyler Robinson should be publicly executed. I think it's crazy, but either way, we'll have to I'll have to show that to you guys at a later point. Thank you to everybody that's in here. Thank you to the 2,000 of you that liked the video. Again, I cannot express enough how much this helps us out. So thank you guys so much for the love. Let's get into Candace Owens. I know a lot of y'all wanted to hear about this. A lot of you other than Taco Tuesday Taco Tuesday cannot stand Candace Owens. So I'm sorry, Taco Tuesday, but we got to talk about it because not only is Turning Point sick of Candace Owens and the way that she's been causing them to, let's be honest, lose some money, but now they're threatening to take legal action against Candace Owens. Candace Owens is actually going to talk about it herself and get into the letter that she was sent that talks about what Turning Point USA expects from her and what they're going to do if they don't get what they're asking for moving forward. Somewhat saw this coming, and a lot of people actually were speculating that the reason Turning Point USA hadn't done anything in the first place was because they had something to hide. Now we're seeing maybe they don't, and they were just being patient with Candace because of her and Charlie Kirk's history. Let's see what she has to say. Also, I will make sure I leave a link in the description of this video for y'all to go and support Candace. She is the originator of this content, and make sure you give her full credit for the live stream that she did. So I won't play the full thing here, but make sure y'all go over there and check out the full live stream. Here we go.
I feel like I should receive an honorary law degree. I feel like I'm an expert now on legal matters. I've learned a lot about legal letters just over the last couple of years, last 3 years maybe. I've definitely learned that there is nothing quite like your first high, right? That first legal letter that you get. I mean, for me, after being sued by a sitting president of a foreign country whose husband would like to strangle me with his large bare hands, any other letter thereafter, it just doesn't do it. It's just not the same experience. I'm not excited anymore when Noah calls. I'm sorry, Noah, if you're watching this, I'm very sorry. It's less exciting for me this year. In order to feel what I felt when Trump called me over a first man pretending to be a lady, according to that, regarding that lady's penis, it's just going to take a lot more, to get me hyped, to get me amped. I would basically have to be sued now by like Vladimir Putin over the Great Schism, seeking literal reparations. We'd have to repair it. Me and Mr. Putin would sit down, hash out the deals with the term Pope, patriarchs over a millennium-old debate. That would make me get out of bed. But this Turning Point USA, a cease and desist. Is that what we're doing? Is this the chapter that we are on? We're turning the chapter here to lawfare? This is what's left? You want us to believe this is Charlie's legacy?
Hey, listen, I called this out a long time ago. The only reason Erika Kirk wanted to sit down with Candace Owens was to say, listen, you're messing with the money. We got things we're trying to do and build here. Do the investigation that you want, but please stop messing with the money. We got people asking questions. They don't need to ask questions. You can have your theories. You're too close to this, or we're going to have some problems. And now, here we are.
In the future, Turning Point USA is going to be thought of as the girl that peaked in high school, Free market capitalism, open debate, prove me wrong. Now it's suddenly shut up and serve the new queen. That's what they want, right? So just to recap, our cultural cardinal rule number 1 is that it's gay to send a legal letter. It's very gay. You shouldn't do it, especially if you can just pick up the phone and call someone. People are open to changing their mind, open to being wrong. You just have to call someone. The vibe that sending out legal letter gives the internet in this day and age, it's changed, the vibes are changing, is my daddy is so rich, he can buy the world.
Again, I disagree with Candace here. Erika Kirk looked the entire world in the face, in the eye during an interview and asked them to stop. I should not pause Candace like that. My bad. She said, stop. We should just stop. Stop with the lies. Stop with theories. Stop. Then on top of that, she met with Candace Owens behind the scenes. It's like, yo, chill out. Just relax. We're trying to make some money. We're trying to continue what we're doing here. All right, chill out, Candace. I don't think so. Again, I don't have a problem with either one. But that's what you're going to do. That's what you're going to have to deal with.
In age, it's changed. The vibes are changing. Is my daddy is so rich, he can buy the world. I'm so rich. We are so rich. We can buy whatever we want. And so now we're just going to buy you and we're going to make people like us because we can afford it. We can buy social standing. Erika, chairman, CEO, Erika, my girl. Heavy is the head that wears the crown after its rightful owner was deposed. Am I right? I right? Now, in terms of the legal letter's content, in case you are wondering, maybe you are assuming that their main point of contention is going to be other things that I've said. Let me actually cut here to Tim Dillon, because Tim Dillon made a joke. Maybe it wasn't really a joke after AmFest. And he insinuated that all they really care about is money. Remember this, what Tim Dillon said?
I said this first.
You feel
I said it first.
It seems off. You feel like this is a coordinated and choreographed spectacle so that you are played. They want your money. That's what they got mad at Candace about.
Yeah, no, keep playing that. Keep playing that out. I mean, you could keep playing that if you have it, but yeah.
They got mad at Candace about. They're like, why are you telling people not to give us money? She's also saying you killed the guy. Why are you mad about the money? They're just mad that they're not getting money. They want your money, and they want to be celebrities.
Yeah, that you feel it. To build off of that, you feel it. The money thing matters to them. And I think that after we go through this legal letter, you're going to recognize that indeed it does seem to be the thing that they are number one most concerned about is writing the allegation that there may be some quote unquote financial impropriety, and they're quoting me, at Turning Point USA. So we obviously broke the story about Charlie establishing a Doge 7 days before he died. And it led a lot of the public to speculate. I would say this was common sense speculation, by the way, that there could have been something that made Charlie do that pertaining to the finances because Elon Musk did a thing, right? We can go back and remember Elon Musk and Vivek saying they had to get into the government. When Trump was elected, we're going to establish this thing and we're going to look where all this fat is and this is financial impropriety. Federal government, right? The federal government has not been handling your tax dollars properly. So along comes Charlie. He decides to establish a Doge. And I guess we're supposed to believe that Doge is really about people going in there and going, no, it's so proper. It's so proper, actually, that we want to establish a Doge so we can just audit and see how amazing we are. Charlie wanted to get in there and look through everything because everything was just clean as a whistle. And he wanted to maybe then give that audit report to other organizations so that they could learn how amazing and proper and above board everything was Turning Point USA. Anyway, let's read the letter. And to give you some needed context before we jump in here, because you're going to go, what are they talking about with payments? Turning Point and I obviously had a long speaking arrangement, a speaking contract, which was still in effect when Charlie was assassinated. We've had a contract to speak going back to 2019, 2020. So obviously, given Charlie's assassination and the direction that my investigation took into what happened on that day, we moved to terminate that agreement, which was supposed to go on for another couple of years. So sense. Naturally, to give them credit, because this is a bit different from Wolves in Finance, them going after a YouTuber who has no relationship with them. Naturally, in any contract relation, there is standard NDA agreements that you come to. It's just kind of written in there. You're not going to disparage me. You're not going to defame me. And so they are, broadly speaking, making the allegation here that my investigation into who killed Charlie Kirk is naturally disparaging. And hey, you accepted our money. You took our money for years while Charlie Kirk was alive. So we're executing on this. You're not allowed to disparage us for another 12 months since we canceled that agreement. So the letter reads, and I'm Xing out the beginning parts that just says LLC names and stuff. And I'm also not going to reveal their lawyers' names. I don't think it's necessary. On video calls on December 4th, 2025, this was obviously pertaining to us ending our contract, our termination. We terminated our contract. And December 15th, I requested a retraction of Ms. Owens Farmer's disparaging statements and again provided notice that the injuries caused by her statements are substantial and continuing to accrue. Ms. Owens Farmer has declined to issue a retraction. To the contrary, she has stated that she, quote, doesn't feel any differently about people that she mentioned on the show, and she thinks that there are shady people at Turning Point USA. Yeah, so I guess I didn't know this, but I was supposed to, according to them, when we had that meaningful discussion, which I was appreciative that we had this open book discussion. I sat down with Erika and Justin Strife, but that I was supposed to come out and say they're amazing and nobody and everybody didn't do nothing. That's it. They're wonderful people. Why would I change my mind because we had a discussion? I came out and I told the truth and things that were answered. And actually, what ended up happening was you conceded points to me. Anyways, it goes on. As a consequence, her statements are continuing to cause harm to Turning Point USA. We are currently working to calculate the full extent to date of the still accruing damages. Okay, so someone's with a calculator and they're calculating. I'm wondering if there's a spreadsheet running of the damage that's being done by Turning Point USA themselves. Andrew Colvett, if we're going to sue anybody for accruing damages, if I'm running the company, I'd go with Andrew Colvett first. Brian Harpole, that's a lot happened there with that car crash interview. Am I being punished because you lied? And I realized it or something, and somehow we have this contract that we've had for years. And now it's like, well, you're not allowed to see us do anything bad because remember, we paid you. Goes on, in my December 2nd letter, I highlighted Ms. Owens' farmer's ongoing contractual obligation not to make any disparaging, false, misleading, or otherwise defamatory comments about Turning Point USA and or its employees, agents, directors, officers, affiliate programs, or services. See speaking agreement, blah, blah. Owens Farmer freely undertook this obligation in exchange for payment by support from and access to Turning Point USA. Her obligation remains in effect for 12 months following the term of her agreements, which were terminated on December 2nd, 2025. Since that letter, Turning Point USA's executives have repeatedly made themselves available via phone, text, and in-person meetings to provide information and documentation. That's just not true. I mean, I'm speaking to one.
So this letter is interesting because it seems to me that a lot of what Turning Point is saying here is that, listen, the only reason we're being nice is because we had this agreement and now we're having to go through the proper channels because you're breaking this agreement. Now, I want to read this because Candace is going through it kind of quickly. So in my December 2nd letter, this is Erika Kirk, I highlighted that Candace Owens' ongoing contractual obligation not to make any, quote, disparaging, false, misleading, or otherwise defamatory comments about Turning Point USA and or its employees, agents, directors, officers, affiliates, programs, or services. Candace has pretty much done all of that. See speaking agreement 6.4 NIL agreement, and Candace Owens freely undertook this obligation in exchange for payment by support from and access to Turning Point USA. Her obligation remains in effect for 12 months following the termination of her agreement, which was terminated on December 2nd, which means she would need to wait until December 2nd of this year before she starts trashing Turning Point USA, allegedly. Since that letter, Turning Point USA's executives have repeatedly made themselves available via phone, text, and in-person meetings to provide information and documentation, which Erika Kirk did on the 15th. Now, seemingly, maybe it was somewhat disingenuous. Maybe now she did it to make sure she was able to enforce this agreement that Candace Owens signed.
2025.
Not great.
Since that letter, Turning Point USA's executives have repeatedly made themselves available via phone, text, and in-person meetings to provide information and documentation. That's just not true. I mean, I'm speaking to one person at Turning Point USA, and we had that sit down. To Ms. Owens Farmer, in the hopes that providing her with the truth would get her to stop disparaging Turning Point USA in violation of the parties' contracts. Yet, notwithstanding the reminder that my letter provided to Ms. Owens Farmer of her obligations and the good faith efforts made by Turning Point USA's leadership to answer her many questions, she has continued to make statements in violation of her contractual obligations in a manner that is reckless, knowing, and intentional. For example, she has published a list of lies that she attributes to Turning Point USA, and she has stated that there is definitely financial impropriety at the company. Which lie on our Turning Point USA list of lies did they correct? Nothing. They gave an excuse for the lies. And I told the public about the excuse. They said, Andrew went rogue. Andrew did this. I don't know why he said that. I don't know why they said that. They have conflicting answers about the drones. Brian Harpole says this. Andrew Colvett says this. Their lawyer says that. So what am I doing wrong by tracking that? Isn't the issue that you lied? Not the issue that the public noticed? There's not a single thing that they cleared up that I then said, oh, okay, I just completely had that wrong on our list of lies. They conceded. Erika came out and said, Charlie, I had his phone. He never said the night before that he was afraid he was going to die. She said that on Glenn Beck. They then get in front of me. They say, okay, yeah, no, he did. I didn't know because it was in a special, app. Yeah, he also messaged Dan Flood. I didn't know because we're not talking to Dan Flood. Okay. What am I missing here? This next sentence sends me. She has claimed to know that there are people at Turning Point USA who are not good people and has suggested that Turning Point USA and TPUSA Faith have been infiltrated by military operatives. Yes, I do know there are people at Turning Point USA who are not good people. I stand by that. It's the truth. I specifically said Tyler Boyer was a sexual deviant. I stand by that. It's the truth.
Yeah, but there's a problem if the agreement says what it says. If she did agree to not make any disparaging, false, misleading, or otherwise defamatory comments about Turning Point USA and or its employees, agents, directors, officers, affiliate programs, or services, Candace, you signed away that right, literally. If this is true.
Turning Point USA who are not good people. I stand by that. It's the truth. I specifically said Tyler Boyer was a sexual deviant. I stand by that. It's the truth. Turning Point USA, Faith, the military. I'm sorry I looked up these people. I'm sorry that Rob McCoy is out there defending somebody who went to prison for molesting kids. The issue is I noticed, again, where is the lie that I have told? Let's see if we're going to get to it. Moreover, it continues, she has accused a Turning Point USA employee of being intentionally evasive in an effort to clear Erika Kirk's name, specifically as to whether Ms. Kirk was at Fort Huachuca in or around an alleged secret meeting that Ms. Owens Farmer has linked to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Now, I told the truth. I said that I requested this multiple times over weeks, and each time I was given an excuse. That's just the truth. I was told she was really busy, and then she popped up at a game, and I said, hey, can I get something? And they sent me something that wasn't what I asked for. So that's just the truth. And then said that it was on me last week because I had my son's birthday and family in town. That I was going to send you a screen record of what I actually wanted. And I said, maybe it's because there's a third party there. It's not clear. But to date, they haven't sent me what I asked for. So I told the truth. In short, Ms. Owens Farmers has not put an end to what she has expressly admitted to be a flood of allegations against people at Turning Point USA, people at Turning Point Action, and people who work for the Charlie Kirk show. Yeah, I'm sorry, Andrew Cole, that sucks. My December 2nd letter, it continues, emphasize that Ms. Owens Farmer must cease her disparaging comments. And this letter reiterates that obligation that includes, in part, ceasing to state or imply that Turning Point USA and or its employees, agents, directors, officers, affiliates, programs, or services played any part in Mr. Kirk's assassination. Ms. Owens Farmer must not state or imply that Turning Point USA and or its employees, agents, directors, officers, affiliates, programs, or services knew about the assassination beforehand, participated in the assassination day of, or covered up the truth about the assassination after the fact. Okay. That's it. That's the guts of the letter. Now, I've been very clear that there's only one reason, again, kill me for having common sense, that people lie. Why do people lie? Because they're covering something up. There's no other reason to lie, actually. You could be pathological, I suppose. You could just do it for funsies. But when you consistently tell lies, it's usually because you're covering up something. Even if it's a small lie, my kid tells a little fib, it's because they're covering up something that they don't want you to find out, right? So because Turning Point USA is lying, it is a totally fair and reasonable assessment that they are engaged in a cover-up. Now, are they protecting one another, their mistakes that they made? Are they trying to protect the organization because they know there are some bad eggs, loyalty to one another because they knew each other, going back a decade, blackmail? Who knows? I can't tell you why, but I can say that when people lie, it's because they're engaged in a cover-up. And that is something I'm going to stick by, an opinion I'm going to stick by, actually. So now regarding the broader point about financial impropriety, which being financially improper is not a crime, right? If you have a charity and actually only 1 cent out of $1 actually goes to what you say it's going to go to, it's not illegal, right? I'm not saying that's the case for Turning Point USA. We've barely covered their finances, actually. But I think that what they want is your money. So I'll make amends. Everybody watching, give all of your money to Turning Point USA. They are amazing. They are above board. They do nothing wrong. They're not focused on money. They just want yours. If you are watching this, please, if you have 401k, consider giving that to Turning Point USA. If you're watching this, please, if you're saving up, take your kids to a theme park. Instead, think about parking that money with Stacey Sheridan and Tyler Boyer and Erika Kirk at Turning Point USA. If you've got a grandma and she's frail and she's sick, consider rewriting her will and giving it to Turning Point USA. It will go to a very good cause. There's always a need for more pyrotechnics. If you are trying to pay down your credit card, maybe don't do that, and try to do a monthly payment instead to Turning Point USA. And yeah, nothing they've ever done has been financially improper. It's crazy that anyone would say that. In fact, they are the most proper organization in the world. Israel's the most moral army in the world, and Turning Point USA is the most financially proper organization in the world. And if you want to know how proper they are, they're sitting around they've got a legal team to ensure that good things are said about the finances, which I think I've covered on this show like a couple of times. The thrust of this is looking into the people that are taking over Turning Point USA, their backgrounds. And I'm going to continue to be honest about that. I said to my lawyer, here's what we're actually going to do with Turning Point. How do you want to reply to this, right? Could they make a thing out of this? Because technically you do have a non-disparagement clause. And you have it for 12 months since the contract was officially terminated. Yeah, there's also things known in contract law as unforeseeable circumstances when you sign an agreement. And when I signed an agreement to go on tour,
I'll let her finish, but I have some thoughts
with Charlie
on this.
Kirk, I think it would be fair to argue that his assassination, his public assassination, was an unforeseeable circumstance. In fact, I signed on the dotted line to work beside Charlie Kirk because he built a company that I believed in. Okay. And now everything that company seems to be about runs counter to my belief. In fact, there are strong contractual arguments to be made about unconscionable clauses. I would say it would be unconscionable for me to choose silence in the wake of Charlie Kirk's public assassination. Having
a hunch isn't a reason to violate a contract. Again, I'm not an attorney, so I don't know how easy this is going to be to beat. But if that's your argument that, hey, Charlie Kirk was shot and assassinated, and I want to look at the people inside of Turning Point USA, that changes everything. I think that's going to be difficult to argue.
It is unconscionable. I actually don't need a judge to decide on that. I don't need a judge to decide on that because the ultimate judge is in heaven. And I told you guys that you'd have better luck from keeping the sun rising into the sky than to try to keep me from investigating Charlie Kirk's assassination. In other words, Turning Point USA, you'd have better luck suing the Sun. Get your lawyer to send a cease and desist to the Sun, and you will have better luck in terms of getting it to stop than from getting me to look away to what happened to Charlie. That's how I feel, okay? And you can just take that as a fact, take it to the bank, do what you have to do, get your donors, and I'm sure you got a lot of them to fund, whatever it is. But I told my lawyer, here's what you do. Go back to them and say, how much money do you want? This contract stuff is just, it's done, guys. This whole thing of contracting people so that you can be a bad person and getting a lawyer to read times, it's done. It's over. It's dead on arrival. Name your price, Turning Point USA. How much would you like? Would you like all of your money back? What's it worth? What's it worth to you, actually? I want to know the number because I'm going to go online, start a GoFundMe, and raise it overnight. That's how much people care about getting to the truth. So you're going to see how much people actually care about learning what happened on September 10th. There are things that you should value above money in life. My God is not money. Okay, I don't worship money. I do worship truth. And I would like to know truthfully what took place on September 10th. And if I have a platform, which is not my platform, actually, it's God's platform. If I have a platform and I can get to the truth of that, I'm gonna use it for those purposes. So,
wow, hey, shout out to Candace Owens standing 10 toes down. Essentially, she said, listen, did I violate the contract? Probably. Turning Point, what do you guys want? Is it money? You hurting for money, even though you've gotten millions, hundreds of millions of dollars since Charlie Kirk has died? You want money? Fine. How much? And, hey, she kind of bossed up on him and said, tell me the amount that you guys want to settle for, and I'll go and raise it overnight. Dang. Because people don't like you guys. They don't support you guys. And I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. And this little agreement that we had is not going to stop me from doing what I'm doing. You got to give it to Candace Owens holding it down. I'll be interested to see what Turning Point says in response. Maybe they'll try and get another 100 million out of her. I don't know. It's going to be hard to defend either way. Let me know what you guys think in the comments and in the chat. Candace Owens, man, she does not care. Gotta respect it. She says she's going to keep fighting, keep searching, keep looking. I can't be mad at it. Shout out to the gang. Thank y'all for the love. Shout out to CPE over on the Cash App. He dropped 2 Cash Apps. And I know this was in support of Taco Tuesday. What did he say? CPE said for Taco Tuesday. And then he sent another 5 bomb. He said for support Taco Tuesday when Candace Owens comes up. Oh, shout out to CPE. Thank you for the love. Thank you to my beautiful, awesome, amazing Amy for the super chat as well. We are going to be back tomorrow, y'all. It's Friday tomorrow, so we're going to have a big show for you. A lot of topics we're going to cover as well, just to make sure we can get you guys through the weekend. And of course, we'll have some other stuff for you over the weekend as well. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you for the continued support. Thank you to the 2,000 of you that liked the video. And as always, you know what to do. Keep growing, keep pushing, keep it classy. We go. Peace. Y'all have an amazing day. Thank you.